Señoras y señores, seguimos con las entrevistas del foro Hablamos Alliance, el foro que reúne a los mejores economistas de Latinoamérica. Y el día de hoy es el turno de Phil Gramm. Pero antes agradecemos al centro Ricardo Salinas Pliego por la invitación y por acercarnos a estas personas tan chingonas. Phil Gramm es un economista y político norteamericano, miembro del Partido Republicano. Ha servido tanto como senador como en la Cámara de Representantes por el estado de Texas. Phil tiene un doctorado en economía por la Universidad de Georgia. Y es un fiel creyente de que el sueño americano sigue vivo y rampante. En esta entrevista hablamos sobre su nuevo libro, The Myth of American Inequality, en donde expone que las cifras de desigualdad publicadas por las autoridades norteamericanas están equivocadas. Esto principalmente por la forma en que se calcula. Gramm dice que al momento de medir el ingreso de las familias no se considera tanto transferencias de dinero de programas sociales como el pago de impuestos. Dice que la desigualdad no es 16-1. Sino 4-1. Ojo, gente, tomen en consideración que esta entrevista es en inglés. Si quieres ver los subtítulos, los puedes ver en YouTube.
Hello, everybody. We're with United States Senator Phil Gramm. And Senator, congratulations for your book, The Myth of American Inequality. Senator, inequality, it's the word of the 21st century. All the governments basically in all the world, it's talking about inequality. But you have a very interesting point about inequality in America. Can you state us a little bit about your point here?
Well, let me first say that governments have been talking about inequality from the very beginning. Plato talked about how inequality doomed democracy because demagogues would rise up and say, I can take from them and give to you and overturn the system. And in the process, of course, destroy wealth rather than reallocate it. So this has been around a long time. About 20 years ago, I started to doubt the statistics of the United States. Statistics are important because we judge our well-being based on government statistics. We can tell the world around us, we can tell how we feel, but comparing to others, statistics are important. So basically what I found was that increasingly government statistics didn't reflect what was happening in the country. And so the book is an effort with a former assistant commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, who knows these numbers better than anybody, to go back and look and see what's wrong with American statistics. And what we found is that beginning in 1947, the Census Bureau defined income as income you receive in cash or cash equivalent. And it was a good estimate in 1947, but when the war on poverty came, most of the programs were transfer payments where the government, for example, gave you a credit card you could buy groceries with, paid your rent and rent subsidies, paid your health care and Medicaid. None of that stuff was counted by the census as income. So where we are today is that census doesn't count 2/3 of all transfer payments as income to people who receive them. Over 100 federal programs are not counted. And this is everything from food stamps to Medicaid to rent subsidies. And the Census Bureau doesn't take into account taxes. So if you look at the bottom 20% of income earners in America, in their case, the census counts only 12% of the transfers going to them as income. In the top quintile, the census doesn't take into account taxes. So when you count all transfer payments as income, when you recognize that if government takes your money, you don't have it to spend. And so you count taxes as income lost to people that pay the taxes. That Census Bureau says the ratio of the top 20% of earners to the bottom 20% is 16.7 to 1, but actually, when you count everything, it's 4 to 1. Now look, you can say 4 to 1's too much, but it's a completely different debate than a debate about 16.7 to 1. We also show that when you count all transfer payments, that the poverty rate in America is actually between 2 and 3%, not 12.4%. And finally, you've heard, of course, politicians all over the world are talking about it, but the argument is that inequality in America is high and income inequality is growing rapidly. Well, we show that if you count all transfer payments and taxes, income inequality in America is actually lower today than it was in 1947. So the point being that our measures of inequality are grossly distorted by what government counts and doesn't count. And secondly, that we're having this big debate about should we dramatically change the system because of growing inequality, when in fact, inequality has declined slightly rather than grown. And then we look at a lot of other things. Is there mobility in America? Can you be born and grow up in a poor family and become successful? The answer is yes. 93% of Americans that grow up in the bottom 20% of income earning families end up doing better than their parents. And a significant number of them do a lot better. So the American dream is alive and well.
It's alive and well, different from people that said it doesn't.
Yeah, look, it's better. If you can be born rich, beautiful, and brilliant, do it. Okay, it's better. Okay, I don't speak from experience, but I can see it's better.
Yeah.
But the point is, being born ordinary and plain and poor is not a disqualifier in America. Neither of my parents graduated from high school. Nobody in my life has ever said to me there's something you can't be because of who your daddy was. So this argument that it's rigged, that people have these advantages, that you don't have a chance, that's all crap. If you work hard and you have ability, you're going to succeed in America.
Senator, how important is to make decisions at a political level with good information and making sense of good statistics? How do you think this applies also for other countries around the world?
Well, first of all, you're only as good as your facts.
Yeah.
And the first thing you ought to do when you're debating something is be sure that you got your facts straight. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things I want to do is to start looking at countries, beginning with Mexico and Chile, to see what their statistical system does. And my guess is, since a lot of things in Mexico have been patterned on how we do them in America, you probably have very similar problems in Mexican statistics. Getting the facts straight is important so that you know what you're talking about. And so it's something I'm hoping in the future we can do.
How can we separate politics from statistics? Because sometimes the way it's read, the way it's taken data, it's biased. So how to make sure we're getting the right data out of our countries?
You know, the Bible says, you shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free. But it doesn't tell you how to know the truth.
Yeah.
So part of the effort here was to try to get our facts straight. And we want to try now, we're going to try to get Congress to change the law requiring that census count all income and take into account taxes in measuring income inequality, income poverty, mobility. And we want to try to see that other countries make those same changes so that when you're having a debate, there are plenty of reasons to disagree, even if you got your facts straight. But we're having a debate in America where one side of the argument is arguing on the basis of information that's verifiably false. The other side doesn't know what the facts are, and so we're just talking past each other. And I'm hoping that getting the facts straight will allow us to have a more civil debate about what kind of country we want.
Especially in a world where opposites, where it's getting more divided and divisive people. Great. Senator, last comment on your book for everyone to buy it?
Yeah, listen, if you can't find it at the bookstore, you can order it on Amazon. You just put the title in, The Myth of American Inequality, and 100 ads will come up. So it's selling well. There's a lot of interest in Washington in it. And I think people recognize that the census made this decision in 47 based on the best information that was available. But we know a lot more than we knew in 1947. The government collects all these statistics, and we need to use them.
Senator, for last, what would you recommend for the common people? Like, we're all the time bombarded with different information, news, fake news. What would you recommend to make sense of all the information we got out there? Because
it's very, very difficult, Maurice, to say. I think you need to try to get a broad cross-section of opinion and try to inform yourself. But again, if something doesn't make sense, you need to look at it very closely. Okay. And for example, in America, the poverty rate, the percentage of the population living in poverty, fell dramatically from 1947 to 1967. And then we started spending all kinds of money to try to deal with the poverty program. And the amount of money we were giving the average family in the bottom 20% of earners rose from $9,300 to $45,400, and yet the poverty rate didn't change? Now, how is that possible? Well, it's possible because the government did not count most of the transfer payments as income to people who got the benefit.
Do you think capitalism is still well and alive?
Well, capitalism is always under assault because there's a natural tendency to be jealous of people who are successful. I tell people in countries around the world where I work that you have to accept the fact in capitalism that there are going to be some people that you don't necessarily like that are going to be very successful. But you look at it, I mean, let me just give you an example. Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is very rich, okay? He's very rich. But am I poor because he's rich? No. Has he taken any money away from me? No. In fact, his good investment has made my retirement worth more. So he made me rich by becoming rich. And take Bill Gates. You know, he is really rich. But he only owns 7% of Microsoft. Who do you think owns the other 93%? Everyone. Pension funds, life insurance policies, annuities. Millions of people have benefited from that man's genius. So why should we be upset that he's got all his money? Okay, it doesn't make me poor. And Elon Musk, I'm never going to buy an electric car, okay? I like my big gas guzzler. I pay for the gasoline, okay. But he's the richest man in the world today. But did he take that money from me? He made every penny of it. And so I think that's the first thing we got to recognize, is that there are places in this world where people get rich by taking money away from other people. Yeah. But where you've got markets and freedom, that doesn't happen. The people I've talked about made all that money by doing something that other people valued and they will be willing to pay for. So if somebody wants to tell you, look at Elon Musk, he's got all that money, don't you resent it? I don't resent it. I wish I had it, but the point is, he made it. He didn't take it from me. And I think that's the thing we need to understand. And where government is the source of people having money, we need to change government policy. We need competition. If you make more money than me and you work harder than me and you're smarter than me, I got no problem. If the government likes you and they don't like me, and they take my money and give it to you, I got a problem.
Okay, we got a problem. Senator, thank you very much and
congratulations.
Thank you,
Moris. You do a very nice job, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Buy that book. It'll change your life. No, it has information you need to know. You need to know.